Mortal Kombat 2 has already been filmed. Production wrapped, marketing began, audience interest followed, and yet the release was moved. On its own, that doesn't mean much. Studios delay movies all the time, scheduling conflicts, competitive windows, and market timing. What doesn't matter? It's when these decisions stop being isolated and start forming a recognizable pattern. Because when finished projects are delayed, reshuffled, or sidelined, not because they're unfinished, but because the calendar say so, it raises a different kind of question. Not about quality, not about demand, but about how studios manage trust once an audience is already invested. Chapter 1: Mortal Kombat 2 and the delay that matters. Let's start with this episode is not bashing. This is not a breakdown of Mortal Kombat 2's plot. It's not about casting choices. It's not about whether the movie will be good or bad. Mortal Kombat 2 did what it was supposed to do. It finished production, it generated hype, and it reminded people that this franchise still matters. That matters because franchises that lose relevance don't create anticipation this easily. The delay itself isn't the issue. What makes it matter is where it fits in a larger pattern. Chapter 2: Why this feels familiar to Mortal Kombat fans. If this situation feels familiar, it should. We've seen this. Even on the movie side, the Mortal Kombat reboot in 2021 did not flop. It released during a complicated window. Theaters were limited. It launched day and date on HBO Max. And despite that, it performed solidly. It earned around 84 million worldwide on a $55 million budget. And it became one of HBO Max's strongest early launches. Most importantly, it was talked about. Fans debated it. Clips circulated. The brand stayed visible. Warner Brothers greenlit a sequel quickly, which tells you one thing very clearly. The demand was real. And yet, even with that proof, the follow up didn't move forward with confidence. It moved forward cautiously. That's the pattern. Not failure, but hesitation. Chapter 3: When strategy starts slowing momentum. Studios love the word strategy. And to be fair, strategy matters. Release windows matters. Competition matters. But there's a difference between strategic planning and strategic hesitation. When a finished project is moved, the message isn't about quality, it's about risk management. And risk management always has a cost. The cost is momentum. Momentum is fragile. You can't pause it indefinitely and expect it to restart at full strength. Audiences don't live on spreadsheets, they live on anticipation, emotion, investment, and memory. Once momentum cools, it doesn't always come back the same way. Chapter 4: Warner Brothers and the Rise of Finished Films Getting Shelved. To understand why MK2's delay feels different, you have to zoom out. Over the last few years, Warner Brothers Discovery has shown a willingness to treat finished projects as flexible assets rather than creative commitments. The clearest example of this is Batgirl. Batgirl wasn't a concept, it wasn't unfinished, it wasn't stuck in development, it was filmed, it was in post production, and it had a strong, recognizable cast. Leslie Grace as Batgirl, J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, Brendan Fraser as the villain, and Michael Keaton returning as Batman, one of the most iconic portrayals of the character in film history. And yet, the movie was shelved completely. Not delayed, not reworked, gone, vanquished, vanished. Regardless of how anyone feels about what that movie might have been, the decisions crossed a psychological line. Because once audience realize that even finished films can disappear, trust becomes conditional. Chapter 5. Mortal Kombat's problem isn't popularity. It's important to say this clearly. Warner Brothers does not have a popularity problem. Mortal Kombat is still culturally relevant. DC characters still trend. These franchises still attract attention. The issue isn't demand. The issue is follow through. When fans feel that their support doesn't guarantee continuity, engagement becomes cautious. And this is the part studios often miss. There's a moment most franchises don't notice because it doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't trend. It doesn't explode online. It's quiet. That moment is when fans stop anticipating and start waiting. They don't leave. They don't rage quit. They just stop organizing their excitement around release dates. That's when trust has shifted because excitement assumes follow through. Waiting assumes uncertainty. This is why delays matter more than studios think. Not because a movie was moved, but because each delay retrains the audience to emotionally disengage just a little bit more every time. And when that happens enough times, even successful franchises start to feel optional. Mortal Kombat isn't there yet, but this is how franchises get there. Warner Brothers isn't losing fans because people stop liking the IP. They're losing momentum because people stopped trusting the rhythm. And once rhythm is gone, every project has to re-earn attention from scratch. That's not sustainable. Chapter 6. The Netflix question Warner Brothers can't ignore. And this is where the conversation shifts because not every company is built around opening week urgency. Some platforms are built around staying power. This is where Netflix enters the conversation, not as a savior, not as a guarantee, but as a contrast. Netflix operates under different incentives. They prioritize retention over opening weekends, continuity over spikes, long term engagement over short term optics. That doesn't make Netflix perfect by any means, but it does make their priorities different. And priorities shape outcomes. Mortal Kombat doesn't need saving, it needs consistency, it needs stewardship, it needs a system that understands what it means to carry an IP, not just launch it. Warner Brothers knows people love this IP, but they don't know how to deliver it with trust, rhythm, or respect because spreadsheets keep winning the argument. And that leads us to the real question. What does Netflix understand about film and fandom that Warner Brothers doesn't? That's the next conversation.